So right now you're going to be hearing a conversation moderated by feminist theologian Regula Grünenfelder, right? Dr. Grünenfelder will be speaking with prioress Irene Gassmann from the Benedictine Monastery of Pfarr in Switzerland, and Bishop Felix Gmür, who is the Bishop of the Diocese of Basel in Switzerland as well, and President of the Swiss Bishops' Conference. Dr. Gmür is also board president of the Swiss Catholic Lenten Fund. For those in the audience, you can follow the translation with your headset. Welcome all. Doctor?
Es Durchzug ist in der Kirche heute und wenn es nur dann zum Husten führt, dann nehme ich das gerne in Kauf.
Well, today, are microphones working? Yes. Now, we are talking with 3 people. Well, we are talking today about the situation of the church in Switzerland and about gender equality. That is, as a first measure, we want to start from the very beginning of the history of Switzerland, and then we want to deal with our dreams, and then finally what will be our moves. Our Bishop Felix, where do you see the role, the most important role of the Diocese of Basilea as gender equality in the church is concerned? Well, I don't know if my diocese has an important role here, but the most important thing is that even my forefathers, that is, bishops and faithfuls, confronted with this reality. And this is the most important thing, I believe. Currently, we live in our current reality and not in yesterday. So this is the reason why we need to find solutions for the youth today. There are 2 main things, 2 facts that influence our action. One is the dual system, that is the skills and power that is subdivided between foundations for bishops and for lay people. And this is one aspect. Then the second aspect that concerns us a lot is the abuse crisis, often perpetrated by priests, but also by women, even nuns, religious sisters, but most of them are perpetrated by priests. These stories of abuse are something that we are trying to face in all Switzerland, and I believe our standards are quite good as for our interventions and prevention. What is prevention like? What do you expect from priests? What do you try to do? Well, from everyone that is involved in our pastoral activity, we ask to be trained and to participate in courses. They need to constantly deal with these themes. There are abuses happening because we are all humans, but there is always the possibility of an abuse. And prevention happens when we realize this danger, this risk. And working in the pastoral, we can say that there is an asymmetrical reaction between the priests and the faithful. And this is something that we need to take into account. And as for the relationship, the responsibility is on the priest. We cannot say, well, this woman wanted to hug me. No, this is not an excuse we can accept. Those who are responsible for the parishes need to be trained for all people working in the parishes, because There are many people working in the church, and this is crucial for me. We need to really balance. We need to really balance our action. Otherwise, people will not want to be involved. As for denouncing the abuse, what is the situation and what is the stand taken by the bishop congregation for the promotion of women inside the church? Has there been a law? Yes, as for dioceses, there will be one-third of priests, one-third women, and this was our aim, but this was something we were not able to reach. I would believe it important if there were more women, but this is not the case, and there are many reasons for that. I don't know exactly about women, about their needs. In order to start and to employ some measures, some specific measures, what is the current situation? Well, I would like to help people that are suitable for providing a service in the church, both if they are women or men. The most important thing is that they are suitable and they have the right skills to work in the church. But if we witness to the imbalance inside the church, it would be important to have an instrument to promote the presence of women in the church and to really understand what they need, what kind of measures we should adopt. And this is something that we talked about an all morning during the conference of bishops. So I promise you that we men will talk about the needs of women, because as a man, I cannot in this moment say what women really need. And what are the measures, what are the committees regarding women? Well, there are committees where women can introduce their proposals, and I always keep an ear ready to listen, but they need to expose. And if they do that, the situation will change. The fact that women could really participate in the church's life does not really depend not only on me, but I will really be glad about that. I would like to add something about my diocese. Here I can see that there is a problem for women who would like to preach. And what do you think about that? Well, for me, it has been very interesting. I found this declaration very interesting. Listening to this religious sister that wanted to preach. And we realized that we are always located in different places, but the point is not that if you are a woman, you cannot preach. If we consider canon law, a woman cannot give the homily because she's not a priest. So even men cannot do that if they are not priests. Even my previous bishops, this is not something that I personally invented. It is important that an homily be given, and it is important that the person who gives the homily is in charge by a bishop, and we are talking about women and men as theologians. We are talking about deacons and priests that have this task due to their ordainment. If we talk about the Mass, we should also concentrate on the German-speaking Switzerland. In the church, we can feel a strong commitment of women, also thanks to the nuns that accompanied Prioress Irene from Fard Monastery. Why are you here? What is your starting point? Well, this is a longer path that I walked along with my sisters, with my fellow sisters. Ever since 2014, I have joined a project for a church with women. We planned a pilgrimage, a feet pilgrimage from St. Gallen to Rome. And a group covered this pilgrimage walking. And at the moment of departure, my sisters, my fellow sisters, were there with me in the Cathedral of St. Gallen, and I myself participated in the final stage through Assisi. And in our backpack, we had our desire to show men our importance in the church and to involve them in a dialogue as for the importance of women in the church. Once we arrived in Rome, we were not received. We celebrated a beautiful mass with our bishops, and in the meantime, we still hope that our request will have been given to Pope Francis. I can see that a growing number of people is disappointed, both women and men. We feel not being given power. And this led me in February to propose the idea of the prayer on Thursday, a prayer that should reach all countries in the world as to accompany these changes in the church with prayer. I believe that we both need prayer, but also people that speak up and listing the most important themes to be dealt with. We need both prayer and voice. I have also experienced, also basing on the fact that we are here, our encounter in March, and because we as a community watched a documentary regarding women that devoted their life to God and were then abused. And we were really touched and shocked by what we discovered. This documentary for me was adamant until we women in general, and we women religious, want to receive communion and so on, we depend on men, on priests. And until this imbalance will exist, this problem will affect the church in not giving the church back its credibility. And this led me to commit myself for gender equality and for equal rights inside the church and to be here as brothers and sisters. I would like to talk also about our vision, our dreams. And what is your dream of a church that is respectful of women? I have a dream of a church that welcomes all people being baptized, both women and men, and that welcomes all people inside it. And inside this church, we need to have men and women with equal rights. I believe that along this path, this long path, we women religious, we as a community can pave the way for experimentation. And I am very inspired by the Benedictine rule, where it is written that if inside a convent there is a need for someone who works really for the community, while the community must choose the most suitable person, the most dignified person, someone who is really able to do that. And then it is necessary to ask the bishop to give this person the task. And what does it mean for you to live inside a community with a Benedictine rule? Well, as a first step, we can reflect upon what we really need. If I think about my community that is growingly aging, we experience that when we need to help a person who is dying, we could choose among our sisters in our community, maybe the one that works with the eldest people, so that she be given the right to help the dying person or to accompany spiritually our faithfuls, to listen to their stories, to draw apart their tears, so that sisters can really be given the right to work for reconciliation. Why are these acts so important? Are they a pastoral assistance? Moreover, there are some similar instruments. Well, sacraments are part of our Catholic holiness. They are the very sign. They are the, let's say, representatives for what we see and what we cannot see. They are rituals. They are important rituals, as a matter of fact. In our monastery, we are very creative in this sense. But when we protect this value, we do something important, because if we didn't do that, this value of protection of sacraments would be lost. And instead, I believe it is very important to have them to live our faith. It is important to understand what is the importance of our sacraments. We need a new pastoral for sacraments. This is your vision, Irene. And you, Bishop, what are your positions? What are your dreams? I find it difficult to simply talk about a church that respects women. Women are not better than men, and men are not worse than women. We need to act in an harmonious way with a common commitment. In a short time, we will have the Synod for the Amazon, and we will have lay men having the right to vote inside the Synod, whereas women, even if ordained, even if they are ordained, religious sisters will have not the right to vote. How we can achieve gender equality and equal opportunities? I would like to talk about a church that respects women. Therefore, if a not ordained man has the right to vote, then we don't understand why a not ordained woman cannot vote. This is something I don't understand. If women and men are not ordained, then they are equal. And this is the same even if they are ordained. I would be very committed myself to defend this aspect. For me, it is natural that they have the same opportunities. They need to. As for faithfuls, It is not important to decide whether if they are men or women inside the church, but rather wonder how can she or he defend and convey his or her faith in an adequate manner. We see Christ and we convey his gospel, his news. This is the point. Therefore, there are many measures we could take. There are many instruments, let me say that. For example, love for others, charity, being a model. Sister Beatrice talked about training, also sacraments. They nourish us. What I experience is a great suffering from women that cannot leave their profession, their being professed. They cannot leave their vocation. They have very few possibilities of being listened to. And going back to the church respecting women, I would like to point out a specific issue. These women living and suffering this moment and even working inside the church, what kind of answer can we give them? I'm sorry. This is something that we cannot unify as a unified stand. The situation is so varied that our message cannot be single. For example, in my diocese, women can witness to the synod. They can participate in it. They are treated equally. And this is the fundamental stance. They need to be listened to, they need to participate, and this is natural for me. And where it is not natural, then I need to be informed about that and I need to intervene. Obviously, always referring to our area of Basilea. For us, it is a dream that women are listened to adequately. But this is a very important aim. Yes, it is. We can say that. Women must be directly involved. And when they are forgotten, we need to intervene. We need to take action. How are women, let's say, erased? Well, we must intervene, but many elements are already obvious for me, at least as Switzerland is concerned. And as for us, as for my country, there is still a lot to do. There is still much frustration on the part of women, and the Conference of Bishops expressed one of the problems as the issue of women. One of the problems we need to face directly is the power control from women. Well, pardon, from men. But even maybe from women, this is a question mark for me. Well, coming to our concrete steps, Pope Francis invites us to give concrete advice to help the Church so that we respect the tradition of the Gospel. And as for finding creative solutions, Felix, what are the creative solutions you can consider, you can suggest? What do you believe we could still do? What are the still non-existing measures? Well, I normally reason in a very pragmatical way. In parishes, we can do a lot because the bishop is responsible for many parishes. There are many of them where women are leaders and where men are leaders and women work. And this is a very simplistic way of saying that. But again, in some situations, we witness a vice versa situation. Also in the work inside the parish, even in managing it, we should need a mixed team, and this would be a creative solution. It ensures a greater openness. It is even happier. It is also more affordable, and it has more possibilities to convey the gospel. Thank you. We listen to Irene. What would you like to see implemented? What are your dreams? And what do you believe are our challenges today? You live in a very peculiar monastery. I'm not a specialist as for convent nuns, but as for superiors, I should be there when some decisions were made by superior generals. As for men, I don't need to be there when decisions are made, and this is something we need to take into account to change it. I feel not being really considered as a bishop, because women decide something and then the bishop just needs to say yes, thank you, and just nods. This is not right the same. We have a great vision for 2040, but our next steps towards this development will be, firstly, going back to Switzerland after this meeting and after what we lived here in Rome. We will share it with our fellow sisters at home. We will discuss it. And our next step will be that of saying, well, I have a vision. That is, after having talked previously with my sisters, I noticed that they were interested and involved in this process. Then one of them said, well, but couldn't it be that this issue of sacraments and their profession be something that involves only us as sisters? Shouldn't it involve also parishes, communities, so not only inside our monastery? I'm very glad that over the last weeks and months, I met some pastoral workers that reflected upon the necessity of deepening the analysis of this problem, and our stances just flowed into one another. And I'm very glad today to tell you that currently we started the Unia initiative. That is an initiative that starts from these stances and will cover much more. Now I am going to ask you an upside-down question. What would you like Bishop Felix to do? What would your dream concerning him be? Well, first of all, I would like to thank Bishop Felix for being here today. I really believe that we all owe you a great thank you because it is not obvious that you are here today with us. This is important for us as women of the Swiss Church. And it is really encouraging for us that you are on our side, that you walk along this path with us. And I hope that this collaboration will continue and we will walk hand in hand. Would you like to add something? For me, it is important that all these issues be discussed at a theological level. There are many professors, scientists, and experts in this field that work and reflect in various directions, and they could maybe guide us. And I believe this could be important for us, because I believe that everyone should contribute to the unity of the Church. And we need to be ecumenically compatible with one another. Would you like to add something? Something more? This is the most important aspect for me, this unity, the idea of not abandoning the other churches. This is not useful for us to simplify the situation, but our world is so diverse in its aspects, in its societies, and we live inside this world. So we need to find solutions. There are signals that we are coming to the end of our time today, so our unity is important for us. You came from Switzerland, talking about the suffering of women. And now, how are you going back to your fellow sisters? I will come back enriched by this experience, rich in gifts for my fellow sisters. We are many. We are good. We are Catholically global. And this is our crucial strength. This is something that we can make people feel. And I would like to say to all sisters, to all ordained women, let's go ahead with that strength.